Welcome everyone to another episode of Spotlights on TSMO. My name is Patrick Sun and I am the Managing Director of the National Operations Center of Excellence. And for those of you that may be new to us, this show focuses specifically on transportation systems management and operations, or as we like to call it in our industry, TSMO. And TSMO is how transportation practitioners maximize our existing systems and make them safer and more efficient for all of our communities. Over the next several episodes, we're going to be focusing on the winners of our annual NOCoE TSMO Awards. And these TSMO Awards were designed to celebrate and share the best ideas and the best practices currently in our industry. Today, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our guest, Matt Glasser, who is Georgia DOT's Assistant State Traffic Engineer. He's responsible over all the statewide interstate operations, the ATMS software, 511 services, statewide safety service patrols, and everything that's related to intelligent transportation systems. And he began his career at Georgia DOT in 2012 in road design before transferring to the Office of Traffic Operations. And Matt has a bachelor's in civil engineering from Georgia Tech and is a licensed professional engineer in Georgia. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks so much. And, congratulations to Georgia DOT on this wonderful achievement of being the category winner for data management. Why don't you take a moment and just explain to the audience what it is that you guys submitted and got turned into a case study?
Certainly. So the Georgia Department of Transportation followed in the footsteps of what Utah DOT did. We adopted ATSPMs, or Automated Traffic Signal Performance Measures. And as we were deploying our new traffic signal software across the state, this just followed right in suit. We already had the traffic signal controllers right there. It made sense. But for us, there was a little bit of a difference between what we were doing in terms of scale versus what Utah was doing. Specifically in Georgia, we have a program called RTOP, the Regional Traffic Operations Program. And in short, it's arterial operations on a day-to-day basis. When you're looking at arterial operations on a 24/7 basis, and you're looking at corridors all around Metro Atlanta, it becomes very difficult to look at ATSPMs, which are built off of an individual traffic signal, and scaling that all the way up to 1,900 traffic signals. If you're trying to go through those one at a time, it becomes very difficult, and it just becomes noise at that point. And so what we did is, as I mentioned, we took the foundation that Utah was able to build and expanded that so that we could aggregate that data to a corridor level basis all the way up to a regional basis. So that way we could provide real-time information to ourselves as well as our partner agencies that we work with on a day-to-day basis.
And that's so great to hear, especially with all the different integrations and just taking something that existed in our industry to the next level, right? And where something that was created by another colleague agency, you guys looked at it and fit it to what you guys needed in Georgia. Can you talk a little bit more about this partnership, kind of building off of, the foundation that was started by Utah DOT and others? Tell us who was involved and what that really constituted in terms of improvements to your system and how you guys kind of found benefits of that.
So the relationship really began for us, I want to say around the 2014, 2015 time frame. And the reason that happened was that we were getting ready to replace our traffic signal software. So we did a scanning tour all over the country, and that took us to Utah. And in talking to them, early relationships, friendships were created, and the work that they had, the specifications that they had were very much in line with what we were thinking. So we took that back, and that became one of the stepping stones for us for our own individual procurement of the technology. After that, again, knowing that they were one of the leaders in the country, we joined into a user group with them. What's going on? Who's doing development? What's it look like? As you may or may not know, the ATSPM software that they developed is open source, and so they've really taken a lead in the country of keeping that software up to date and making sure that everyone brings back in, the small or large developments that they do. They've taken that on and again just really led the nation in keeping that I wouldn't say centralized, but focused. And so with those, with that partnership already there, we all knew where everyone was kind of splintering off to in terms of, Utah had certain focuses that they were interested in, which were very much specific to what they needed as an agency. And for us, since we were really getting our feet wet with this, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel with this. We certainly didn't want to try to start writing code to understand or to fully grasp all these enumerations like they had. It was really about just building it up. And once we felt comfortable with that and felt more comfortable with how everything was being built, then we could start wading in to the development of new ATSPMs, which we were able to work with them on. As a matter of fact, I guess about the time that we made this initial submission in January, February, December timeframe.
You're talking a lot of what people might consider kind of the leading edge technology that's going on and being utilized in transportation, everything from combining data sets to open source software, kind of this user group mentality where everyone's bringing something to the table. How is that different than how things used to kind of occur at a DOT? Like, give us your perspective on this new environment that we all are working in, and that's kind of enabling Georgia DOT to really advance, the state of your transportation operations.
Well, so I think, one of the reasons that Utah and Georgia get along so well is I think that we both share a similar philosophy that was bred out of having the Olympics. We had the 96 Olympics, they had the Winter Olympics, and you were forced into a situation that on the outset as a traffic engineer kind of makes you sweat. and at that point, you have no other option but to start making sure that the partners that you have in the state are good, that you've built that trust and that you've built the relationships for the long term. And so for them, it was the same way for us. We built those from 96. One of the ways that we were successful in terms of building internal relationships was maximizing the strengths of each of the individual organizations and doing our best to hide, perceived weaknesses. As a state agency and with state level contracts, Georgia has the ability to work with and understand the pain points of locals and go out and procure the technology that's going to help meet those. But we don't force it down their throats. We say, here's an option. This is yours to take, and we're going to sweeten the pot. If you want to go down this path, we'll swap out your controllers for you, or we'll swap out your firmware for you, and we'll do that free of charge. And so that's the way that we started building those relationships, and that's the way that we always looked at partner agencies, is that this is about figuring out what you do really well and where I need help. And so to that same degree, that's how that relationship between us and Utah really took off. They had beat us to the punch on some of these traffic signal performance measures and upgrades. With that same philosophy, we went into it not looking at it as a failure on our part, but looking to them as a, hey, help us mask our weakness, help us shine. And so I think that and they have that same type of philosophy. And so I think because of that, it just makes for a good ongoing partnership.
And that philosophy that you talk about, that you shared, coupled with the technology that was used and the approach to data management is actually a lot of the reasons why you guys, particularly Georgia DOT, has won what we consider the overall TSMO award. So we call it pretty much the DOT or the agency that is the TSMO champion of the year. And so a great accomplishment and congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
This is truly an honor in a sense of all of the industry kind of recognizing each other and their efforts, and we really try to make sure that the focus relates around the purpose of TSMO, which is to help not only your department, but the community you serve. And so talk to us a little bit more of that connection where this project and this initiative that you guys took with data management and kind of the sharing that was going on amongst partnerships, and how that's helping you realize your department's goals to serving your community.
Certainly. So I think one of the ways that I heard someone describe TSMO is squeezing that last bit of efficiency out of the system. it's hard to identify where that efficiency is and where those opportunities land, without the bulk collection of data and sifting through it. And so, for us, when these programs began, they were not, they were reliant on data sets and pieces of information that were collected in, 2006, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? The types of things, the world has evolved a lot from that time to 2020, right? And it's seemingly impossible, especially for agencies that are not quite at the level that we are. They look at us and say, well, there's no way that we'll ever get there. There's no way that we'll ever have that budget or those data sets or the server capacity to handle these types of things. But for us, going back to your question of how this all serves a community, well, it was just finding those those pieces of low-hanging fruit and understanding the pain points of not just your everyday citizen. And that's not to say that that's not important. It most certainly is. But it's all of the local agencies around you. So in our case, while we take a lead role in it, I don't want to diminish the roles of every single local agency that makes this possible within Metro Atlanta. It seems like every single day we have a new city that pops up in Metro Atlanta, but just within our footprint, you're talking well over 20 cities and well over, and 10 plus counties. Trying to get all of them on the same page can certainly be difficult. And that's not to say that we all have the same priorities. It's not, but there is a respect for the individual local needs and tailoring what we're doing to help a city of Atlanta versus a Gwinnett County versus a city of Marietta. Each of them have similar but different needs. And so, again, when the program started, it focused primarily on just trying to get people in and out of the city, right? It was, there's an AM rush, there's a PM rush, make it happen. That was the biggest pain point at the time. And that's not to say that that's gone away. It's certainly not. Rush hour in Atlanta is certainly not fun. Again, it's evolved beyond that, and people do, your success breeds additional opportunities to keep going, right? So this was just an AM and a PM program. Well, then it turned into, we need to go from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., include the midday peak, to now being every day that we need to deal with this. Again, it didn't start all at once, and we didn't identify all these problems all at once. As the program matured, as the data sets matured, as the technology matured, you could start resolving these problems and identifying these problems to start moving forward.
Yeah, that's a great story about the power of approaching it with this TSMO mindset and really looking at it from complete system management. There's a lot of kind of blinders on that goes on, especially in people who perceive that DOTs might just be focused on one specific thing, which is not the case. And you just bring up some great points and stories and successes working with a lot of your local partners and just the abilities that you were able to grow and mature into, even from the onset of this initiative. I'd love to be able to kind of pick your brain a little bit, especially in your leadership role in our industry, and just kind of continue to help advance, the state of the practice forward. I always like to think that our leaders are held up by really great teams. So I wanted to kind of ask you and use this as an opportunity for you to highlight a few people that were key and instrumental in just moving this initiative and this project along at Georgia that you might want to recognize.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, because as much as I love to say that I'm the smartest person in the room, you nailed it in the sense that there are brilliant minds that we work with every single day. And within the Department of Transportation, Sam Harris has been passionately involved with this since the beginning, along with Alan Davis, who helped bring it in. The entire user group, the entire ATSPM power user group that we work with on a regular basis, but also the data sets that fit into our Mark I application, which we submitted. It didn't just stop with ATSPM. It was actually vehicle probe data. And that was partners at the CAT lab that helped make that possible. The way that they built their software and the ease of which they made it available to us made that full system performance much more manageable for us. But then, on the consultant side, I think it's a mindset difference, when you go from agency to agency. For us, we are working with consultants. They don't work for us. It's very much a team effort. In this case, Alan Toppin at Kimley Horn was the one really making this possible. And it was very much a collaborative back and forth effort of, I'm thinking this way, let me get your opinion. Mm-hmm. And he was very quick to say, I don't think that that's going to work in terms of the aggregation or X, Y, and Z, and made it happen. And finally, and certainly the most important folks, our team in IT, Peter Utero and Charlie Ray, the folks, the part that's even more hidden than the engineers behind the traffic signals, the IT folks who make the communications network and the infrastructure that keeps us all alive in terms of our day-to-day jobs, we couldn't have done it without them.
And that's such a great story, really to end on for us, because we recognize, especially everyone that is participating in taking any sort of active role in further advancing the TSMO industry, that there are so many people behind us, around us, in front of us that are supporting, and we're just all moving in the same direction. And another reason why we are doing these videos for spotlights on TSMO, and so we just ask you to subscribe and join us for our next video. And thank you, Matt, and congratulate Georgia DOT on another great win. Thank you, Matt.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.